What is up, everyone? How are you today? I am Todd Bookspan, and I am so excited for our mastermind today. It's number 209. It's crazy hard to believe that. And I get to be the head honch today because I'm going to introduce my guest in just a minute, who's a great friend of mine. But before I do so, I, of course, want to bring in my wingman today, none other than the CEO of Mortgage Coach, Dave Savage. What's up, Dave?
What's up, Todd? And it is awesome to be the wingman. Now, we didn't get the clap in, so what's up, everybody?
You know, I should have done the Dave Savage clap, but I just don't do it like you do it.
No,
I just
dude.
never, never want to be an imitator. I need to come up with my own innovative, start to the call when you're not here.
Yeah, I think you did a great job, man. So anyways, good to be here. And I'm really looking forward to getting to know Scott and learning about him. I mean, anybody that is this successful of a real estate agent, also a coach to realtors, is just someone that you can learn a lot from. So I'm looking forward to being the wingman and learning a lot.
Awesome. So those of you who did not see the post that I made, Scott Gibson is joining us today. He runs an expansion team for the Lawton team. It's a $1 billion real estate team. They sold over $1 billion last year. They work with Zillow, doing their Zillow offers and their Zillow Flex programs. Scott is also a Tom Ferry coach. He has personally closed over 3,000 transactions. I've known Scott for a very long time, possibly longer than some of you who are watching have been alive. And he's just a great friend. But really, most importantly, when I want to find out what's going on in real estate, when I need someone to bounce an idea off of, Scott's the person I call. So without further ado, welcome, Scott.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here, and definitely one of the more fun Zoom calls I'll have this week.
Well, I hope so. Zoom could get kind of boring now, but you wear so many hats, and it's kind of fun because I know that there's so many different places that we can start. So I think just so you all know, we're going to definitely talk about some coaching ideas and, what Scott's coaching his clients through and what he's seeing. But I definitely want to pick his brain first about real estate, because I know all of you are interested to know what's going on in other markets around the country, and then also what's going on with Zillow. I think those are things that are great for you to know as an originator, and great things that you can share with all of your realtor partners. So I know, Scott, you're coaching still, even though you've scaled back coaching, you're still coaching over 24 clients in over 15 major markets. What are you seeing in the real estate market? Kind of what's your current view from where you're sitting these days?
Well, so when I scaled back from 75 down to 25 clients, I really was fairly strategic in picking, Northern California, the Northeast, Midwest, not necessarily Chicago, and then Southeast Florida, and then Texas. Those are all very good bellwether, as I think the term goes, just to kind of watch and feel for the trends. And so I think it goes without everybody who pays attention, a high density city into the outlying areas. I think the rule of thumb that everybody's starting to really acknowledge is an hour and a half to 2 hours outside of where a major metropolitan area is. And I like to go the question behind the question, dig a little bit deeper. And so, I have a client in Boston, between downtown Boston and the ocean. I actually have two clients, one on Martha's Vineyard and one right inside there. And Beacon Hill is certainly a good bellwether for a high density established city. It's also, that particular part of Boston, and Boston in general, has 4 major colleges. And because we see, because of COVID, Beacon Hill has gone from 1 month to a 9-month supply in the last 60 days, as far as condo style homes. So what does that mean particularly, right? So a brownstone or a townhome that has a backyard or an outdoor space that you could entertain socially distant gets bought up right away. Anything less than that is starting to sit. My clients in Oakland are starting to see, and it's interesting because Oakland is still high density, but it's not as high density as downtown San Francisco. And so what we're seeing is the movement from downtown San Francisco over to Oakland for the exact same reason. If there is a backyard, if there is place to move around, the market time is still almost immediate and the pricing is holding. The high density vertical is definitely becoming open, definitely increasing in vacancy. You know, that automatically leads everybody back to a 2008 scenario. And, you know, I'd like to speak to that a little bit, just because I think as lenders, and I coach my agents and I coach our team, it's our responsibility to make sure that when the anecdotal doesn't become the norm, right? And in 2008 to 2010, the anecdotal was, oh, I don't have to pay my mortgage, I can live here for a year. My buddy didn't pay a mortgage for a year. And while we certainly all have heard that story, if we ask a question behind the question and go further, what were their names? Did they actually live there a year? We find out that, oh, no, it was a friend of a friend. And so when we hear that, you know, Beacon Hill is a 1 month to a 9 month supply, I'm not trying to be alarmist, I'm trying to be informative, because in those areas, those two particular areas, I would like to, you know, remind everybody that there's been such a run up in value, and there's been so many refis, as everybody on this call could understand, that there's a lot of equity. And the difference between now and 2008 was 2008 had an equity crisis and a cash flow crisis. Whereas we don't have that issue right now. We might have a cash flow crisis because those are primarily rentals, especially in Boston. But for the most part, I don't foresee, you know, this foreclosure wave, because there's still a lot of room to move. So to go further, because I did make sure and get my numbers right for this morning. So last year, this time, there was the average price in that Beacon Hill area specifically was 1.36. Right now, there was 79 available last year. There's 178 available as of this morning, but they're 1.26. So we're not looking at a huge decrease in price. That's all market equity. And so I don't foresee a crisis. And then more to the point, I have 2 clients in Miami, 1 client in Orlando. And my clients in Miami, specifically, I spoke to one last night because her market is that luxury condo, which for the past year has almost been kind of a little bit slower, especially because of COVID, because Miami condos aren't a second home necessarily. They're generally somebody's 3rd and 4th home, especially in that $1 million range. And now the market's picked up and they're seeing a lot of cash buying. And so that's a strong market now, which is ironic. So I think it is something that everybody needs to be paying attention to. You know, we're watching that migration. It's interesting being in Arizona, because the #1 place where people move to Phoenix from is Los Angeles County. #2 place is Orange County, and they're continuing to come here, which is holding the Phoenix values up. But Phoenix people are moving to Tucson, about 2 hours south of there, or Prescott, about an hour north of there. So the density in high volume area just depends on where you live.
I think that's so interesting to see. And for one of the things that I should probably point out about Scott is he was one of the largest foreclosure listing agents in the country, you know, a decade ago. He was, there was a night where we sat down drinking a beer and he, you know, put on the back of a napkin after the first shoe dropped in the foreclosure crisis and said, hey, I'm going to become a foreclosure agent. And, you know, went from selling a handful of homes to selling, you know, almost 1,000 homes the following year. And so I know that you're an expert on that. Where can the average person who is listening to this, obviously you've got this insight in with all these clients. Is there a particular source or two that you would point the listeners here to look to follow so that they can see what's going on in these markets?
You know, I create, this is a holdover from, you know, like you say, my 15 minutes of fame, my holdover of information sources from the 2008, 2014. You know, I created a self dashboard with links, but, you know, I can't necessarily answer your question, because I think what's important is people are very aware of what headlines mean, right? And so you will see a headline come February. It'll be anywhere and everywhere. Foreclosures up 200%. And I encourage everybody to dig a little bit deeper, because if there was only 6 foreclosures the month before, And now we have more foreclosures. Yes, it's going to be a triple-digit increase. There's just simply not the data. There's too much equity that there's going to be that kind of a crisis, barring some kind of catastrophic national event. But we can see that the response to COVID is certainly been very good for our industry in particular. People are running to housing as opposed to running from housing, which is, again, something that they did in 2008. 2008, they kept their cars, they left their house. Now they're keeping their house and letting go of the cars if they need to. So as far as good sources, I think that Housing Wire is always a good resource. And I think you can cross-reference that. There'll be, significant reports. I set up my Google News report to watch for certain keywords. But again, I just encourage everybody to continue to read behind the headline.
I love it. All right, Dave, I know you're dying with some questions. Jump in.
Well, I just love listening to someone that is obviously a market master. I mean, the guy knows his markets. He knows the numbers. He knows how to be a leader. Now, again, he's a real estate agent, and he's been doing this forever, and he's one of America's most successful agents. But I think listening to it and kind of putting myself in the perspective of a local referral-based mortgage professional, that's a purchase-first professional. So I'm making an assumption when I'm going to say what I'm going to say, that you're not a refi specialist. Yeah, you've done a lot of refis, but your day job is helping realtors sell homes and financing. If that's the case, I think what I heard just now is a call that every local referral-based mortgage professionals, you need to be like, when you think of being a market expert, you think that means knowing what interest rates are going to do. And guys, and you know what? We have Dan Rawich coming to us this Tuesday, and he's going to give us his forecast. And I do think as a mortgage professional, you need to know and be able to talk about what rates are doing short-term and long-term. But I think you also need to know the market, like your local market, and have, be able to bring some of that leadership to realtors, because most realtors aren't as sharp as Scott is. They're not as knowledgeable. I'm a big fan of Keeping Current Matters. I know, we've had Steve Harney, Dave Childers in our community a lot. They have a blog. I think it's Keeping Current KCM blog. We'll put a link at some point, but I would just push everybody coming into the new year. Guys, refis are going to go away at some point. They are going to slow down. They can't keep at the pace they're at. So you need to look at what does it mean to be a market expert, and add to that. It doesn't just mean interest rates. It means the city that you live in, the markets that you serve, realtors. Do you know what the trends are? Can you have a conversation? And my last thought, and then I'll hand it back to you, Todd, is, things like when I interviewed Amber Kovark in Chandler, Arizona, and she's turning refis into move-ups. I would just push, like, one of my takeaways from the Modern Mortgage Summit is that not only did all those loan officers use technology, all those loan officers have strategies to get to the consumer first. So if you can, be an expert in your market, and you can be the one that's bringing first-time buyers into the market, you can be the one that's getting move-up buyers to take action, agents like Scott are going to dig you. It's going to be a win. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Scott?
Well, I think that's exactly what needs to happen, right? So one of the reasons, Todd and I have been best friends since before we were in real estate. My first sale was his first loan. But the one reason why we've been able to maintain this working relationship is, Todd's my accountability partner. And, when I am coaching my agents, I'm like, you have to have these strategic partners. But, coming from this audience, identifying those agents in the market, using a market trend analysis and seeing who's doing transactions and looking at those agents on the come up, right? So when we're recruiting, I'm looking for an agent that does between 12 and 15 transactions. And I explain to them, like, hey, can I help you get another 12 to 15 transactions this year? You're doing this on your own. Let me help add that in. As lenders on this call, being that accountability partner and talking to them and helping them control the narrative. Because if realtors listen to other realtors too much, then they just repeat the same thing and it becomes this cycle. Whereas if somebody else can step in as an authority and say, hey, look, if we could become in an inflationary situation, then interest rates are going to have to go up. This is how you can motivate your buyers, right? How can I help you organize your database into this people? One of the things I wanted to bring up with Todd is, how do you set 2021 up to win, or how do you finish the fourth quarter strong? Right now, finishing the fourth quarter strong is going back with your agents that you work with every day and saying, okay, who are the buyers that ghosted us? Who are the buyers that got buyer fatigue? Who are the buyers that just drifted off because they got frustrated, right? It was a very frustrating year to buy real estate for a lot of people. Go back to them and say, hey, it's the fourth quarter. Inventory levels are rising in almost every market because right now people are looking to sell and things have calmed down. Call them back and say, hey, inventory is coming back up. You want to give it another shot? And we're doing this on our team. We're doing things on our team like we're calling agents that have expired. Instead of trying to track down the owner, motivate your agents to call the agents that had the expired listing and say, hey, I have a buyer that would be interested. Do you want to call your clients and see if we can show it? And I think that that's, two or three things that, speaking to what you were just saying, Dave, just helping the agents understand that, hey, just because it's November and December doesn't mean you got to slow down. So,
dude, that's huge. That's huge. You guys have to think about that, because we've been talking about it here for the last few weeks, is that so many of those in the industry, I don't want to point any fingers at anyone in particular, but this may resonate with some of you, have been so focused on refis that you haven't talked to your agents, and you have that call reluctance right now. And so Scott just gave you the roadmap to have a reason to pick up the phone and reconnect, rebuild the relationship, and help your partners build their business. I mean, what a great way to end your 2020 strong, launch into 2021, and help them.
And I want to make sure you guys really got that. Like, I don't want to just fly by that, because he gave you the meeting notes to, one, get a meeting with realtors, and two, have a productive meeting you're gonna come out of it with people to talk to. So I just want to make sure we get everybody to write this down. Like, literally write this down. Scott, I think you said who ghosted us? Who did we lose? Like, who were the five? If you could just repeat that. People have the recording, but I literally want you guys to write this down right now. You're going to have a meeting with your agents next week. And Scott, what are those 3 questions you had?
Yeah, so meeting with your agent partners and sitting down and going through their Boomtown, their Sierra, what their sync, whatever their database is, and saying, hey, which clients fell off? Which people did we show for 4 weeks and then all of a sudden they disappeared? And they didn't disappear because anybody's a bad agent or because they couldn't get the loan. People got frustrated from buyer fatigue, right? Person can only handle so many decisions in a day. Going through, every agent has 5 of those people. Like, either you were busy this year or you gave up this year. And if you were busy, then you have 5 people that fell out just because of the process. Reaching out to them and saying, hey, let's give it another run. Inventory is back up. Working hand in hand with the agents is a great place to start with that.
I love that, guys.
Go ahead, Dave.
Go ahead, Todd. Oh, I'll just add, remember, guys, you are powered with the total cost analysis. So you have the ability to get someone off the fence and paying the price they need to. You have the ability to turn a refi into a move up. You have the ability to do a rent versus own and get a first-time home buyer who either got fatigued or, was afraid that I don't know what my equity is going to look like in 3 years. You have this tool to net it out for them. I think that's just a home run to take the meeting notes that he just gave you, get meetings with realtors. And then my last thing is, guys, remember, this is a mastermind. If you have a question for Scott, put it in comments. If you have a conversation and question you've been having with realtors that's really been working, put it in comments down below, whether you're watching the recording or you're watching this live. Todd.
I think the biggest thing is take action, guys, right? You just need to pick up the phone when we get off of this call, or if you're watching the recording, push pause for a second and then think about, who are the 3 to 5 agents who could use your help, right? Scott mentioned that we're accountability partners, right? This is your time to step up and help those agents. There's certainly ones who are crushing it and they're going to be super busy still, and they're going to push that off maybe to the future. But there's actually probably a lot of agents, more than you realize that are actually struggling right now. And that little push from you and that little help and the motivation, I think, will be a great opportunity for them. And then therefore also a great opportunity for you. Right, Scott?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, again, coming from that coach point of view, when I'm working with one of my clients and we're looking at hiring or we're looking at business partners, strategic partners, they fall in one of two categories. Are they going to help us close business, or are they going to help us grow our business? And if your lender partner, if everybody on this call can be both, that just solidifies that every step of the way, right? And where I was frankly brought up in the industry, right, where Todd was my partner, and so we never blamed everything on our loan officer. So title caught it mostly, but for the most part, it was one of those things where, as a team leader, what can the lender do to make his life or her life easier, which is, help those agents grow, right? Are they, it's November right now. So how far along are they with their business plans? And, obviously there are a million free business plans out there on the internet. I'm a fan of the free one that Tom Ferry offers. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which plan you use. It's sitting down with the agent saying, hey, you did 12 deals last year. Let's get to 24 deals. Let me help you get those other 12. Let's start with this plan. Let's take an honest look at where your business came from. Take a hard look at where you want your business to come from, and then back into those numbers, right? Everybody on this call knows how to do that. I'm encouraging everybody on this call to continue to push agents who know how to do it, who are ignoring it because they're working in their business and not on their business. It's too easy.
Yeah, I so agree. I mean, this is always a time when I was originating where I had the most opportunity to go speak at real estate companies, the most opportunity to team up with title companies. Certainly with COVID, that's going to be a little more limited, but you can absolutely jump on Zoom. Obviously, my preferred tool is Win by Noon, and we've got our free business planning tool. You can just reach out. It's just winbynoon.com/business planning tool. You can jump on that. It's a great free way to work with Win by Noon and work with your agents as well. Speaking of tools, you mentioned a bunch of CRMs and stuff like that. One of the things that you mentioned would be maybe worthwhile talking about is what are you seeing as the coolest tools right now for realtors?
There's so many, right? So it's what's going to be the adaptability of the platform, what's easier for the agents to use, and then the expense, right? So I think that the gold standard in our industry for CRMs for a long time has been Boomtown. It takes a significant amount of adaptability to get into it, to leverage it correctly. But it's probably worth every dollar that's charged for it. I work on two. So as a team, we use Boomtown. For my personal sales business, I chose Sierra Interactive. Out of my 25 clients, 17 of them are using Sierra at my encouragement. And then GGMS, which is a plugin for that. And that's one of the reasons why I like Sierra is it's a third of the cost. I'm trying not to give them a plug. So I'll kind of stop.
You can plug,
there.
it's okay. It's okay.
Okay, well, the idea isn't that I'm here to plug them. The reason why I like them isn't just because it's almost the exact same platform that you get for 3 times the amount of money. And if it can be done less expensive, then do it less expensive. But most importantly, they open their API to work with expansion. And so all of the things that are important to an agent and important to a lender partner is what are those productivity plans? What are the marketing plans that can be added into the platform? And so just by allowing other companies to get into their platform to do that has made their platform so much easier. And then, now there's tracking. And so this is my favorite thing to talk about this year is CSU, which is, if you're familiar with CTE, which is how agents can track their productivity, right? Because if it's worth it, it should be tracked. And if we want a predictable business, it's got to be tracked. And obviously with Win by Noon, that's a proven factor, right? So tracking that productivity and then getting that net result. So CTE was kind of that first step, but CSU is this plugin that can really help you predict out your revenue and your expenses based on that revenue for as long as you have contracts. And to talk about the adaptability of that, by January 1st, that company will be able to integrate both my Boomtown platform and my Sierra platform into one board. So I can tell you exactly where my deals are coming from, how much I'm going to make per deal, per transaction. And then for the adaptability between the lender and the agent, just understanding that pipeline is phenomenal. And again, just like the other two products I mentioned, it's inexpensive. As a team, we use a grow board. It's constantly up, but it's incredibly expensive. It's great. It's a fantastic product, but if you can do it for a third of the price, do it for a third of the price. So those are my three favorite tech things from 2020.
All right, I appreciate that. I just want you all to be armed with ideas for your agents. And we all know that just like we see it all the time. In fact, I think we've seen it two or three times in the last 24 hours in the Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind group. Everyone always asks about CRMs and what you should use. And I knew that Scott would be able to give us some insight there.
What was the one? Is it, you said Sisu? What is that?
Yeah, so Sisu, S-I-S-U, is it's fully integrated. Mine's not up, or I'd show you. But it's a fantastic product. I'm trying to think if I'll have to get you the link because it's actually, would you look at this?
Oh, I didn't want to take you off track. I know
no
people are going to ask us that, and I thought like we would we'd get it. And also, guys, Robert is putting links. Anybody that is not using Win by Noon, guys, you're a loan officer in the Mortgage Coach community, get the Mortgage Coach edition. And just a reminder, there's a real estate edition, and it is a great platform for helping and masterminding with agents and holding them accountable to it. So make sure you check on that. We do have a link down below on that.
I appreciate that, Dave. Yeah, I mean, the big thing with Win by Noon for your agents is if they're not as tech savvy or plugged into a CRM like Scott and his team are, it's just an easy way for them to do it. All right, so one of the things that I really want to push Scott on, because he's an expert on Zillow, right? I mean, Zillow, we know they're the 100-pound gorilla, 1,000-pound, billion-pound gorilla, whatever they are these days, in the industry. And, they're launching brokerages. They've had the Zillow Offers program, which Scott's team was the original team in the country doing that. And they also have their Zillow Flex program. So in no particular order, I mean, probably maybe start with the brokerage idea, because I think there's some people who don't even know that they're opening brokerages. And then maybe we also talk about the Flex program after that, and how it matters or why it matters to those who are here on the call.
Absolutely. So the Lawton team, who is the team that I work for, George and I have been friends and business partners off and on since 2007. And so I run his expansion team down here in Tucson. So the Lawton team was the original growth partner for Zillow in the Zillow acquisition, and it's actually, the term is Zillow Offers, where Zillow would come in, purchase the home from the sellers, and then it would be put back out onto the market and remarketed. And that program has grown to 24 markets nationwide. And, there's two ways you can look at Zillow. You can look at Zillow as a competitor, or you can look at Zillow as a strategic partner. For us, the best move was to look at it as a strategic partner. I coach my agents to understand that those are your two choices, but the choice of continuously letting it take up space in your head, if you choose to use them as a competitor, that's the wrong direction to head. They're no different than any other brokerage that's nationwide, and they should be viewed no different than any other brokerage that's nationwide. And so if you were worried about another KWEXP C21 REMAX office opening up down the street, then you should be worried about a Zillow office opening up down the street. If you addressed it as a normal competitor in the market, then address it as a normal competitor in the market. And so what was best for our team was to build a strategic relationship, and it has been fantastic for us. It's really opened up the opportunity to help over 1,000 people last year to transition out of their home, and then 1,000 people to purchase a new home and get into it at a better rate and continue to grow their business. And so this past September, I believe it was either the end of August or September, I can't remember, Zillow announced that they would be launching 2 brokerages, one in Atlanta and one in Arizona, and that would represent the Zillow Offers program. It's a natural progression of business. I don't think it was a surprise to anybody who pays attention in the industry. They were very upfront with us in communicating that this was their intention, this was their plan. And I believe per the press release, which is, I get my information from that mostly, that it should happen in January of this next year.
So they'll just be doing the offer part, or are they going to be hiring agents to compete? How's that going to look?
So I'm probably 100th man down on that knowledge list. So I couldn't speak if they're going to be hiring agents as far as transactional. As far as I know, based on the press release, that it's going to be handling just the purchase and disposition of the assets that they buy and sell in the state of Arizona and in the Atlanta area.
See, so good for you guys to be on the cutting edge, and maybe worth a little bit of Google search on that, because again, you want to know, right? Certainly, if you're not in Arizona or in Atlanta, it's not going to impact you yet. But if you're in one of those other 24 markets where they're currently operating their Zillow Offers program, then it's probably heading your way soon.
Yeah, they have a great press release office. I encourage everybody to make sure to track that. Speaking of the Zillow Flex program, and so I'll give a background on that to kind of help understand what that is, just in case it's not in your market. I don't know the specific number of markets that's in, but a similar program was started by Realtor.com and OpCity, where in that market, partners and or the entire market no longer have to pay to be a part of a zip code. And in exchange for that, we are required to hit certain metrics to help consumers in their consumer experience. And at the end of the day, Zillow has been very focused on that consumer experience and making it a positive one. And so they have selected agents and teams within these markets that instead of paying on a monthly basis to work in a zip code, they pay a percentage of the deal closed. And so Zillow takes a very big part in helping educate and improve agents in that process. And for our team, it's been very successful. I think we've closed, and I pulled the board up just so I can look, so it's in real time. 829 transactions year to date on the Zillow Flex program. And so it's a lot of work, but for the most part, I think that the consumer experience has definitely increased. It is a commitment on the agent's level to really put forefront how are we perceived by the general public. And it is a different level of accountability for an agent. Most agents get into the business because they want to be their own boss, and so they get to pick their own clients. If you are part of this program, you're there to make the consumer experience strong. And most agents, when they get into the program, they find it very successful for them.
So walk me through what do they consider the metrics of customer experience that they're measuring?
Absolutely. So when so I've got to figure out how I can dialogue this to make it easier for lenders to understand. So when we get the connection from Zillow, our first goal is to make sure that we introduce ourselves, let the consumer know that we're a Zillow partner, an expert in the market, and then we repeat back the address. I see that you're calling on 123 4th Street. When would you like to see it? And this is where the transition from, if you asked me as a coach, how would you coach an agent? And it was a year ago today, I would say, well, we go through the qualification process. Now I coach all of my clients, whether in this program or any, because we've seen the numbers change, right? And so we encourage to get that showing, to get that appointment right away. It's a better consumer experience. because, and this is where lenders can help their agents understand this. And this goes for any internet lead. If a consumer calls 10 agents off of the internet, whether it's Zillow, PPC, or Facebook, all agents are going to ask, have you talked to a lender? Have you worked with another agent? And it's very exhausting on the consumer. And so one of the things that we've started to take a look at is how can we make a consumer experience better? First thing we do is we don't act like the other 9 agents that they've called before us or they're going to call after us, right? We wouldn't walk, if we walked into a car dealership to buy a new F-150, and the first thing the guy says is, have you spoken to any other Ford dealers? Because if you have, I can't sell you this truck. I don't even want to show you this truck until you sign that you're only going to work with us. We do that as agents. And when you hear about it and you put yourself in the shoes walking into a car dealership, you would probably walk out. But let's assume that you would say, no, I'm only going to buy a Ford from this dealership. They go, great. And you're like, can I go see that Ford now? Well, before you do that, I need to make sure that you can afford it. And you're going to be like, okay, I want to test drive the truck. And we would, and then all of a sudden they're going to say, well, we need to get you pre-qualified. Immediately, it's 2 no's, it's 2 roadblocks. Whereas a year ago today, I would be saying, hey, we want to qualify because we want to make sure that we're maximizing our time. Now I'm telling you that the best advice you can give your realtor partners is let the other 9 agents put those 2 roadblocks. You're going to go show a house. You're not going to get in the car and show them 6 houses. You can do the pre-qualification when you're at the home. And it's frankly easier for the agent to build an emotional connection in person with the prospect and say, great, how did you determine that this is the house you wanted to look at? Was it the price? Excellent. Hey, have you spoken to a lender yet? And if they haven't, how much easier is that in person for them to hand off to you, the lender partner, to get them to make that phone call, as opposed to trying to do it over the phone before they've even shown the house. So that's, if there's anything that has made a significant difference, we have over a 75% appointment rate. So answering your question finally of what metrics are they looking at? They're looking at what's the appointment rate and then what's the met rate off that appointment rate.
By the met rate, meaning how many of those 75% actually showed up?
Yeah, and so, agent mindset, right? So this is another thing where lenders can help change the narrative, right? I don't want to do online leads because they're always looking next year, they never show up, and they never write offers. Well, everybody's going to need to eat next year. And is next year really next year, or is next year next February? Because terminology means something, right? So when you talk to a prospect and they say next year, they might be thinking February, the agent's hearing next August. And so again, asking the question behind. And then as far as showing up, that really depends on how good the agent made that bond, right? If they can't make that emotional connection on that phone call, and more importantly, if they can't make the follow-up emotional connection, then yeah, people might not show up because they don't feel invested. But if you're the first person to say, hey, I see you called on 1234 Street, when did you want to see it? After they've been told 9 times that they have to get pre-qualified, you already are ahead of the game. More importantly, that follow-up phone call or the text confirmation the next day, instead of, hey, seeing you at 4 o'clock later this afternoon, should be a video held up on your phone saying, hey, it's Scott. I just want to make sure we put a face with the name and the sound of my voice now. I'm just looking forward to seeing you at 4 o'clock. So if you're the agent that didn't make them jump through hoops to get the appointment, then you're the agent that follows up with a video, and I mean talking 15 seconds, not 3 minutes, 15-second video text that everybody in this country has been sending a video text at this point to, a spouse or a kid. Doing that gets your appointment rate up much higher.
Boom. Todd, do you mind if I unpack a few things? Because
I can see you're anxious to unpack. Go for it, because that was like gold for all of us on customer experience. So go for it, Dave.
Yeah. So first of all, I think we're going to make some micro content over the past, I mean, the whole call has been amazing, but the past 15 minutes, guys, you got a meeting with a realtor, you got a call out that, hey, I need to be not just an interest rate expert, but a local market expert. The way he talked about Zillow, just the maturity, I'm a businessman, using neutral language, not judging if you're going to call them a competitor and boycott them, but it made sense for my practice to do this. I love the way you describe that. I recommend every mortgage professional goes back and listen to how he, the Zillow narrative and how he's turned a competitor into a partner. And I just think words matter. Listen to all the words that he's using in his scripting. He said something at the end where everybody's doing text video. Guys, everybody's not doing text video. The ballers are using text video. Josh Metal uses text video. Scott and his team are using text video. 15-second, 30-second videos, and putting a video on a total cost analysis. I did an interview with a top producer that's going to do over $100 million and wasn't doing video a month ago. And the interview I just did this week, and it's on our channel with Jasmine. It was her 27th video, and she was like telling why she decided after all these years, knowing she should do it, she decided to do it, what kind of results she's getting, and kind of like what advice she had for her old self. So guys, video matters. Scott and Todd, I know you want to unpack that too. I did want to just put something else in the conversation. Kyle Allen posted, Scott, I have a lot of agents feeling burned out right now. What's a good way to keep them motivated, prepped for next year from lenders' perspective? Thank you kindly. You just hit it, helping them with lost client database. So anyways, anything you want to add to that? And then Todd, I will be quiet and let you unpack it further.
Yeah, so as a lender, reaching out to those agents, right? So again, this year, either it's been the best year of their career or it's not. And it's been a battle, right? Everything has been a battle. It's been a battle to keep the clients, it's been a battle to get their offer accepted, to get it all the way through. You got news for you. 2021 is not going to be any different. And if they don't start today working on January, then it's going to even be more difficult, right? So looking at, calling people today is fairly useless, right? There's too much noise from the election. I'm literally coaching people to wait until Monday. And the minute that the conversation turns to the election, say, hey, what's your plan for Thanksgiving? Don't even wait for them to stop talking, just interrupt them. And then be bold with your agents, and then tell them to be bold with their clients. Say, hey, I know I interrupted you there, but really the election happened. The election's probably just going to be chaos. Let's talk about Thanksgiving. What are you going to do to change the narrative between your relationship with the agent, helping them change their narrative in their office among their team, and then helping them and their team change the narrative with their database. November, December, January are literally the easiest months in the world to make calls, right? And as Todd mentioned earlier, call reluctance is a real thing. Everybody has it. But November, December, and January, right? You talk about Thanksgiving, you talk about how Thanksgiving was, you talk about at the end of the year, Christmas, holidays, whatever it's going to be. And then in January, you see how the holiday is, right? My favorite thing to do this time of the year is to buy a $4 chuck from Trader Joe's, go to Vistaprint, get wine bottle stickers, and they literally have them, and call it first bottle, last bottle of the night. And so it's a great little gift idea. You send it out, and frankly, lenders could do this with their agents and teach them to do it with their clients. But if you drink wine, you're drinking the cheap stuff to make dinner before everybody gets there. And then when everybody gets there, you drink a nice bottle. And then as the night goes on, if you have nice bottles of wine, you kind of control which bottles get opened the second and third, because nobody can taste the third bottle. But at the end of the night, the last thing you want is somebody grabbing a very expensive bottle. So you open up the last bottle of the night. And then I always tell my clients, and this is something maybe lenders could do with the agents, say, hey, I'm going to send you this bottle. It's literally the last bottle of the night. So, but I'm going to call you after the holidays, and I want to hear the story about when you opened it up. Who was there? What were you guys talking about? And I got to tell you, I do it with my coaching clients, and they do it with their clients. It's the most fun phone calls, because if you send it to them before Thanksgiving, you text them, during the day, and you say, "Hey, happy Thanksgiving." I'm like, "You already opened the bottle, didn't you?" Right? Because, let's face it, it's that time of the year. So, little things like that. So when you say, how do we control that burnout? How do we change? You've got to be the most positive person in the room. And sometimes it's hard to be the most positive person in the room. But if you're not doing it for them, they're not doing it for their consumer or for their client.
I gotta say something, Todd. So first of all,
I know
that
you're a
was
wine drinker. Jump in.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to comment on that, but I mean, even if they said I'm not drinking that wine, you became better friends. So like, there's no downside to the $2 chuck, and you're using it for cooking. You're using it when no one can taste it. There's nothing but a good personal connection and conversation that can come from that. But the thing I want to call out to everybody on this, I think it's pretty clear. This guy is a leader. This guy knows how to walk into constructive tension. And it was clear in the Modern Mortgage Summit. It's clear every time I interview someone that's elite, whether they're a real estate agent, whether they're a mortgage professional, they know how to have constructive tension. They know how to be leaders. And yes, most of the time they are obnoxiously optimistic, but not in an unconstructive way. They know the nuances of how to filter that, how to interrupt someone, and how to change their thinking. So anyway, I just want to compliment you on, I can just tell that you love constructive tension, and you bring it to the people you coach, you bring it to the people you do business with, and you bring it to the people on your own team. So kudos to you. And I hope everybody noticed that. And I think that's just fantastic leadership. So
Thank
Todd.
you.
Hey, I want to circle back to the whole idea of, you said you're teaching your agents not to be like the other 9 agents. And I think that you all need to go back and re-listen to that part of the conversation to make sure that you're not the loan officer who's like the other 9 loan officers. If your agent is like the other 9 agents and they got that person who's dying to look at a house and they're calling you to get that pre-qual and they're annoyed about it, think about that mindset they're coming in with, and think about how can you change that experience for them. Because I think that that's, really the key. If the biggest real estate company in the world, Zillow, is focused on the customer experience number one, first and foremost, and they're willing to invest time, you may call it waste time, I'm going to call it invest time, into providing a better experience for their customer, shouldn't you, right? How can you take that and rework how you're approaching that initial conversation with your clients? And then, of course, take what Scott said and then use that as conversation with your agents. I think you'll probably get some pushback from the 9 out of 10, but there's going to be those who are open-minded, who might say, you know what, let me try that and see, especially if you're working internet leads with them, because so many of you are down on that, and there really is a great opportunity. Scott just said it over 800 times this year. His team has turned that into a home buyer and a closed transaction.
Yeah, numbers, getting that at bat is, ripping off the book Moneyball, just getting the at bat, getting a hit, getting on base, and then trusting the process that you're going to continue to do that. And you measure it, right? You measure it in the Win by Noon book, you measure it in whatever metrics you're using. And then, as a lender, helping your agent break down, what do those numbers mean? Holding them accountable, right? Maybe just a text back and forth and saying, hey, 15 conversations today, how'd you do? And just being there, we're all in the same industry, so we're all in that same cycle of feedback and just doing something different than everybody else. If everybody else is talking about A, you should be driving your relationships to B.
So I know you're saying that you said that a great way to set people up for 2021 is with a business plan, and we talked about those tools earlier. How do you get a loan officer to get an agent to be okay with having them be their business planning and their accountability partner? Any suggestions on that?
Yeah, you can't eat the elephant together all at once. So, I have, even coaching clients, right? Coaching clients sometimes are a little bit resistant to sitting down and doing a business plan. Todd and I started coaching at the same coach and coaching company. And excuse me, we used to go away for a week, sit down, or go away for a few days and sit down and do the whole plan. I think that one of the things that lenders on this call and later in the video can do is, once you choose which business plan, obviously the win by noon one would be the perfect one, breaking that out into 1 or 2 pages at a time. And really just saying, hey, I'm going to do my first page of the business plan, you do your first page, and then let's talk. Now, as a lender, if you're working with 10 agents, you only have to do it once, and then you just got to hold them accountable. Great. Now, hey, let's do pages 2 and 3 over the weekend, and just see where they got. And just keep, and then all of a sudden, you're the lender that helped them actually get their plan done. For the first time in their career, they finished an entire business plan. And the reason why they did that is because you took, 15 minutes every Monday or every Tuesday just to either text or call and have a conversation and say, hey, this is what I got done. Did you get yours done? No. Okay. I don't want to know the reason why. Let's get a new date where you get it done by the end of today, right? So who's accountable? When's the due date? What's the process? And just being that lender for them.
Yeah, I think that's always the key, right? Your coaching clients are paying you to hold them accountable. And I do know that for most people who hire a coach, that's one of their top reasons is they need someone who's just going to be that, grinder, let's call it, grind on them for it. And so I think it's, I encourage you all to not be, you're going to have people who don't do it, like Scott said, and then just reset it with them, right? Don't be like, oh, blow them off. They didn't do it the first time. It may take more than one time to do it. And that's all right. Just be okay with it. You have to have a little bit of resilience.
Yeah.
So I want to add one more thought, because guys, it's constructive tension. And I talked to a top producing loan officer. He's going to do 50 million this year. And he was talking to a realtor about sharing the database so that they could market to them. And he was pitching him on how I'm going to get some move up buyers out of your database, and talking about getting the database to put it into HomeBot. And the agent had said yes, but then wasn't following through. And he's like, what do I do? And, guys, constructive tension. Like, after you've asked someone to do something 3-4 times, they're going to appreciate if you like, hey, I don't want to, just walk into the constructive tension. I'm not going to keep reminding you, because if it's not something you want to do, no problem. If there is a reason that it's holding up, let me know what it is. But he was going to just give up, like just quit asking. Like, they had buy-in, but just walk into that constructive tension. Guys, that is the difference between being good and being great. And then that is the difference between being great and being the best, like literally the best in your company, the best in your state. It's that constructive tension and going the extra mile. So get out there, get after it, call realtors. You should listen to this call like 5 times, because there's been so much gold that's come out of this call. I know I'm going to re-listen to some of it. I'm going to transcribe it, probably write an article on it, because there was just so much value in this conversation.
Excellent.
I love that. I love that. All right. So unfortunately, we're gonna run out of time here in a few minutes for us to do this. As you guys can see, why I can talk to Scott all day. So I don't want to get us going on a subject that's more than the 5 minutes that we have left, because I know you've got coaching clients after this. So what do you think is a great way for us to wrap up this call?
Right now, both the lenders and, if I was going to have the last 4 minutes to focus on this, I can do it in 2. Get your agents focused on online reviews, right? And then just drive it. Make it a contest. Make it some kind of reward for them. Drive the online reviews. I don't care if it's on Zillow or if it's on Google, but they've got to do it. And then the follow-up, right? So again, you get a chance to call them more than once on something. So you're driving them to get these reviews and pushing them, begging them, incentivizing. So they're doing it. And then at the end of it, bundle that into their social proof, right? Let's face it, Facebook is a driver's license. Everybody wants to know who it is that they're talking to. And if we think that they don't look us up on Facebook, then we're being certainly naive. But certainly as an agent, they're going to find us either on Google or most definitely they're going to find us on Zillow. And so having those reviews is crucial. As a team, the Lawton team, we have over, I think we're at 1,600 5-star reviews on Zillow, which is redonkulous, right? But at the end of the day, it's because we know that there's this value in having that social proof. And so as a lender, you can get them not just for yourself, but driving those agents to getting them, that I think just sets you up to be that, hey, you know what, I'm really glad he pushed me to do that, or I'm really glad that she pushed me to get those done this year.
Yeah, I think that's really critical. Any tips on the best way for them to have their agents do that? Is it just a quick video text saying, hey, can you please fill out this review? Or is it sending them a link to their Facebook or their Google review spot?
Yeah, so there's a couple of tricks that we've used. One, the video definitely works, but more importantly, if you can be, everybody's got too much to do, but I know this. I know that if Shannon, my assistant, calls a past client and says, hey, I'm going through the checklist of stuff, and I need to get you to leave Scott a 5-star review. The 5 star is very important because if you're not first, you're last. Ha ha ha. But at the end of the day, having that third person, that other person bring themselves into it. And then also helping the agent understand the rewards, right? And so when Dave said, there's that malaise, it's the end of the year, people reading their reviews puts them over the top. And, helping them bundle that into their social proof. But, again, rushing to the end, walking them through the final exercise. If they took and laid out 10 of their 5-star reviews with a highlighter and highlighted the most common words, that's their new bio. And that's how they enter into 2021.
So Mortgage Coach community, I'm going to have my marketing team take that little script, put it into the Mortgage Coach Instagram channel. And that is a talking point for your agents right now. It's just like what a great idea. And I don't know, maybe every team realtor in America knows that trick that you just had, having your assistant, that script that you use, maybe everybody's doing it. My gut is everybody's not doing it. But at the end of the day, it's a great conversation. So you got so much gold from this call. Todd, you killed it, bro. I can't believe this is the first time we've had Scott on our channel.
I was just thinking the same thing. I was like, man, of all the people, I told him, I said he was the first person that I thought of to jump on here today. We've been so focused on the Modern Mortgage Summit for the last 6-8 weeks, and it's just fun to have a good transition into someone who I knew would deliver a ton of value. I had no doubt it would be great, Scott, and it was over the top. You exceeded my expectations, so super grateful that you made time. And I love, Dave, the fact that you're going to invest your team into turning this into more content.
Yeah, let's just play it forward. And a lot of people have said ton of values, takeaway, so much great stuff. Thank you. Remember, guys, if you got value from this, it's going to be in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. Give it a like. If you're checking it out on Facebook, you can love it. I do think this is worthy of rewatching this content. And we will create some micro content and put it in the Mortgage Coach Instagram channel. So stay tuned for that. Maybe we'll get it in there today. Maybe we'll get it in Monday. But I just think there's a lot of ammo you could repurpose and take to your agents. Little ideas. Hey, I was on the Mortgage Coach channel. They had Scott. Scott's doing this kind of business. He shared this idea. What do you think of it? So much gold.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me on. It was definitely a lot of fun. So
awesome. And Robert just threw down into Zoom and into Facebook. TucsonYes.com is how you guys can reach out to Scott. Certainly the way that you can pay him back for his time is a referral. That's always welcome, and that is his website there. Anything else we should be adding on that, Scott?
All my information is on there. I've got a great little link tree. I'm going to hop on Instagram because now I want to follow Mortgage Coach on Instagram so I can share that to my story. Thank you guys again so much. This was a lot of fun.
All right, my friend.
Really grateful for you, brother. And guys, remember this Tuesday, I'm going to have Dan Rawich as our guest. He's going to do interest rate projections through the end of the year and 2021. And he's going to share some marketing ideas so that okay, I know I'm a market expert. I've got Dan Rawich's advice. How do you turn that into social media content as a mortgage coach, as a mortgage leader out there? So share that with your friends. I mean, I want to have just a huge call this Tuesday with Dan and Todd. I'll let you close it out, but thank you, brother, for bringing Scott into the mortgage coach community.
Hey, all the thanks goes to you, Scott. I'm so grateful for you, my friend, and appreciate you coming into this community, and I appreciate you, community, for allowing me to share my good friend Scott Gibson with you. Like Dave said, this is one that you'll want to listen to again. This is one that will have immediate ideas that you can put into your business to impact not just yourself, but your referral partners and your client experience going forward. So thanks, everyone, on behalf of Dave, the Mortgage Coach team, myself, and Win by Noon. Scott, really appreciate you, and we'll see you guys here next week here on the Mortgage Coach channel.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
All right, guys.
You bet. Bye.